Good morning. I have a question for you. Have you noticed how you feel while you're watching these videos? Presuming that you've watched more than this one. Have you noticed how you feel at the end of it? What's your body doing? What expression is on your face? Just generally paying attention to what's going on in you as you watch these videos and at the end of them. And have you noticed how it carries forward into your day? The awarenesses that have come up, maybe the practices, are they influencing your daily life? I ask this because as a spiritual practice, like I'm assuming that if you're watching this and I'm talking about spirituality and spiritual practices, I'm assuming that you're watching them because it's, in a way, sustaining or supporting or enhancing your spiritual practice. Well, if we're just taking in the information and it's not getting in deep enough to make changes in how we think or how we feel or how we act, or how we perceive things, then it's not really doing anything and it's not really a spiritual practice. This is one of the most common ego tricks, really, is on a spiritual path. Eventually your ego catches on that this spiritual stuff you're doing is actually really good and feels good and makes you happier and makes you safer and makes you all the things that the ego really wants to do. And your ego won't fight quite so much as it does in the beginning. But one of the most common things it will do is say, oh, I'm doing all this spiritual stuff. Look at me. I'm doing so well. But not actually letting it get in to a level that makes change. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but one of the reasons that I'm talking more slowly in the videos usually than a lot of people do, and one of the reasons I'm, organically letting it flow, catching it and letting it come through in real time rather than, say, having a notes or a script or something, is because these little pauses make it more possible for you to integrate and absorb the information. When it's all coming at you at rapid fire pace, like so many people do on videos, especially nowadays, it's wonderful. The ego loves that because it all just skims right over and it's intriguing and it's exciting and it's new and it's a distraction from actually taking it in. They say that nowadays the average person's attention span, in the West at least, Western world, is, 7 seconds, I think, which is 1 second less than a goldfish's attention span. That's pretty sad, but but it's because at this time we're at the same time that the Kali Yuga era is turning, the dark era, spiritual era is turning back towards the light, towards the spiritual side. We're also at the peak of the ego dominance. And that is an ego mode. It wants everything fast and fast and fast so that nothing gets through. So that can be a form of spiritual materialism, watching these videos or whatever videos that you want to do, whatever courses you're taking, whatever books you're reading. If it's just getting into the information level, it's still a start. I mean, something's going to percolate through. But the goal is to allow it to sink in deeper. And one of the ways we do that is by paying attention, by noticing when I'm reading this, when I'm in this workshop, when I'm doing this practice, whatever it is, how is this affecting me? How am I feeling? What's going on in my body? What's going on in my mind? And sometimes your body will demonstrate that in ways that you're not aware of consciously. Like you will find that you're smiling without realizing that you're smiling. Or you'll find that your body is more relaxed, or your posture is more upright, or you just feel this sense of expansion that you might not notice if you're not paying attention. And I'm a little distracted because my cat is scratching at the door there. So I'm encouraging you, I guess, to see if you can't become aware of what's going on for you as you watch these videos and after. See if you can't take it into your day and practice it, and then see if you can't notice what comes of that, like how it's changing you over time. It's very difficult in some ways to notice because these are not dramatic changes that happen like boom and they're done. But gradually you will notice. I find this in my course all the time, my Year in a Day course. You know, people don't really notice on a day-to-day basis, but at certain points in the course I ask them to check in with themselves and say, what are you noticing that's different in your life? How are your relationships? How is your work life? How is your health? How is your emotional balance? Like all of these things. Because over time with practice, they get better, you know? And it's a truism that one of the things that, you know, the last thing to change on our spiritual growth or personal growth is our own self-image. So we can be very different, but we don't necessarily notice how far we've come until we stop and take notice. So that's what my video is about today, is about encouraging you to stop and take notice. How does it feel? Because even if you don't notice that you're acting differently in your daily life, after one video, seriously, what's the impact of that? You know, it's a little bit of a boost maybe, but it's not going to entirely change your life. But what you may notice is that you're smiling and your energy feels lighter or more expansive, and you just kind of start the day with a little bit more positivity and more happiness and more optimism. And that itself is a clue that this is beneficial. You know, if you come out of something and you feel the opposite, if you come out of my videos feeling the opposite of that, you know, maybe that's a clue that this is not right for you. There are a million paths, and nobody's going to be right for everybody, right? So, but if you do come out and you feel better at the end of it, and you maybe find yourself smiling, then that's a sign that this is feeding your spirit in some beneficial way. That it's doing good for you, that it's nourishing you, that it's improving your life. Even these little bits. When we have a thought for a certain amount of time, or we have a repeating thought, literal pathways are created in the brain that enable us to experience that even more often. Literal pathways are connecting that make us think that way more frequently and make us perceive, allow us to perceive that in the world around us more easily. So even just spending 10 minutes a day or 13 minutes a day, as the case may be, watching this or something similar, right? Something positive and uplifting. It's firing neurons in your brain, and it's creating pathways in your brain that are setting more of that in motion for you. They're making more of that possible for you. It's like calling that in from the universe. The more time you spend in a happy state or an uplifted state or whatever state, the more time you spend in it, the more you're calling that from the universe, and the more the universe is going to give that to you, and the more you're going to be able to receive it. Because the universe is giving us everything all the time. And what we receive is a matter of, subconscious filtering and cherry picking what fits the neural patterns that we already have. So here's an opportunity to change those neural patterns. So I would like to encourage you to be aware of those things that are feeding the positive neural patterns. If you don't want to feel something in your regular life on a daily basis kind of thing, then try to avoid feeding that to yourself. Watching news, for instance, feeds anxiety and fear and depression and negative perspectives and ego modes and all of those kind of things that we probably, if you're on the spiritual path, you really don't want to be feeling. You don't want to be feeding. So if you become more aware of what you're feeding yourself and how you are reacting to what you're taking in, have you ever stopped during a tense movie and noticed what's going on in your body? See if you can't do that sometimes. Just like close your eyes in the middle of a tense part and, push pause and notice that your heart is pounding and there's real anxiety going through your whole body and your brain is activated in a survival mode. And then ask yourself, is this how I want to be? Is this how I want life to be? Because you're creating those neural pathways as you watch. You're reinforcing them. And the universe sees that as, oh, that's what she wants. That's what we're going to give her. And that's what she's going to receive. I don't know about you, but that's reason enough for me to have given up on watching news for, I don't even know how many years, but it's been a long time, and it's been a very happy change. And I have to say, I haven't missed it. There are very few things going on in the world that I thought I needed to know about, but turns out I really don't. And I forgot where I was going. It was really good, but I'm going to not be comprehensive with it. I'm just going to let it go. At any rate, I'm just going to say that's what I had to say. That's pretty much it. I don't need to reiterate. I'm just going to hope that you can take this awareness into your day with a little bit, just bring this awareness into your day of how things that you're experiencing and putting into yourself voluntarily are affecting you and creating the potential for more of that in your life in the future. So I hope that's a wonderful practice for you today, and it's going to be interesting for me, I'm sure. I wish you a wonderful day, and I will chat with you again tomorrow. Blessed be.